Alright, we're going to start with a review of what a dependent clause is. So when we're looking for a dependent clause, what are we looking for? How do we know that our sentence has a dependent clause? We look for these special words. What are they called? Luke? Awubuses is our 7th grade English word, our mnemonic to help us remember what they are. But what's the proper English term then for an awubus? A subordinating conjunction, and we don't want to confuse a subordinating conjunction with a coordinating conjunction. We think of coordinate means to put together, and, but, or, so. We do not start sentences with this, and I will tell you that if you continue writing your journals or your paragraphs about your book with coordinating conjunctions at the beginning, you're getting them back to rewrite them. We do not start sentences with them. We have subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating comes before the word that you're looking for, or the clause that we're looking for. So when we look up here, we've got our first sentence here. When he was very young, his parents took him to a zoo where he saw zebras for the first time. In that sentence, I'm going to tell you there are two dependent clauses, two of them. So look for a subordinating conjunction. Who can find one? Taylor? When. So we're going to circle our subordinating conjunction and then use that to help us find our dependent clause. So if when is the subordinating conjunction, what is the dependent clause? It starts with our subordinating conjunction. Andrew? Very good. And you have to include the when in there. Because if we just said he was very young, that's a complete sentence by itself. That's not a dependent clause. When he was very young. And if that's a dependent clause, then Matt, what should I be able to find in there? A what? Well, not in the dependent clause. How do we know what a clause is? It's got to have a what in it? A subject and a verb. Very good. What's a subject? He and the verb? Was, action or linking. Linking. What follows a linking verb? A PA or a PN, and so what do we have? What's the word? Young. And so how would we check to see if it's a noun or an adjective? What can you put in front of a noun? The or a. Are we talking about a young? So it's got to be an adjective. Very good. And then we have a modifier here, an adverb. To what extent are they young? Very young. Now, if you have colored pens or colored pencils or something, you want to use a different color, I'm going to switch to a different color for a second dependent clause. So who sees the other subordinating conjunction that shows us where we have another dependent clause? We had when he was very young, not a complete sentence by itself. Where's the other one? Andrew? Where. And Jacob, if where is our subordinating conjunction, what's the dependent clause? Keep going. Okay, we go all the way to the rest of that sentence, wherever that phrasing ends, where he saw zebras for the first time. And so now we want to see, is there anything we can get rid of? Katie, do you see any prepositional phrases or anything? You're right, but let's focus on our dependent clause, in our dependent clause. For the first time. And so we're left with he saw zebras. Jillian, what's the subject? The verb? Action or linking. Saw what? So what job is zebras doing? The DO. Very good. Alright, so we got rid of two dependent clauses. What should be left? Can't have a sentence. If our sentence is just a dependent clause, it's really a fragment. If I wrote the sentence where he saw zebras for the first time, that's not a sentence by itself. It needs what to make it a complete sentence, Matt? And so, Matt, read me the independent clause. His parents took him to a zoo. And actually, Katie already told us that we could get rid of to a zoo. So we're left with his parents took him. What's the subject in there, Luke? What's a his? Parents. His and her are not going to be subjects. They're modifiers, right? Whose parents? His parents. What did the parents do, Luke? Action or linking? Action. Took. Took whom or what? What job is him doing then? Direct object. So in a sentence it's going to have two dependent clauses. We found three subject and verbs. A subject and verb here, a subject and a verb here, and a subject and a verb here. Only one of those could stand by itself. Which part of that would be able to be a sentence all by itself? Which of those clauses would make sense all by itself of the three that we have up there, Luke? His parents took him to a zoo. That's the independent clause. How boring of a sentence is it when all we have is just a subject and a verb, a little prepositional phrase? When you have dependent clauses, you can add so much more description to it. So if you've ever seen me write on your paper, short and choppy sentences, work on adding description, look how easy it is to just add a clause in there, and you're doubling, tripling the size of your sentence with a lot more information for your reader. So what you're going to do now is complete 2, 3, and 4. Number 2 has one dependent clause. 3 and 4 both have 2, and you can work with a friend, and then we'll check them. All right. In number 2, from time to time, his injured hand, which he still wore in a sling, oh, typo. Bad teacher. I know, and there was a typo on your paper, and then when I fixed it, I still fixed it wrong. Would begin to hurt. So Andrew's going to find our dependent clause. What are you looking for, Andrew? The subordinating conjunction. Very good. Which. So if which tells us we have a dependent clause, what is the dependent clause? Very good. That whole clause. Now wait a minute. So now you're going to tell me, is there anything we can get rid of? Because we got to label the subject and verb. In a sling. Good. Subject. He. Now think about, what did he do? He. Can you still? Can you wore? He wore? That's an action? Okay. He wore. Very good. Excellent. Now you can sit down. So still is going to be an adverb here, describing war. All right, Luke. What's the part of the sentence that's left called, Luke? Independent clause. From time to time, his injured hand would begin to hurt. All by itself, that sentence is absolutely fine by itself. Sure. Very good. We've got an infinitive, to plus a verb, to hurt. And I'll tell you have two prepositional phrases. Good. Ooh, is what a preposition? If to time is a preposition, then what's the other one? From time. So read me what's left. His injured hand would begin. What's your subject? What's the sentence about? Luke. His will never be a subject, right? Hand is your subject. What's his doing in that sentence then? It's modifying it. Whose hand is it? It's his hand. What kind of hand? An injured hand. Okay, and your verb or verb phrase? Would begin. Would a helping verb. Very good. All right. Jacob, when the man was about 10 feet away, Zebra noticed that the left sleeve of his jacket was empty. There are two dependent clauses. You just need to find one. Very good. When. So the clause is when the man was about 10 feet away. Now wait a minute. What should you have done first? You jumped right in with your subject and verb, which is good, but was there anything you could get rid of? A prep phrase? Anyone see a prep phrase up here? Taylor, what's the prep phrase? About 10 feet. And away is actually going to be, the man was, actually tells where, so that's not an adjective, that would be an adverb. So you can erase that, PA. Good. All right, Zebra noticed that the left sleeve of his jacket was empty. There's still another dependent clause, Matt. You can hide, but I still see you. You can wear your camo next time. Then maybe I won't see you. Where's the dependent clause? That. Very good. That is the dependent clause. Wait a minute. What is the clause then? Now you're missing a word. The dependent clause starts with your subordinating conjunction. Very good. So sleeve is your subject. Anything you should have gotten rid of? Good. Good. Was is your linking verb. And empties your PA. Nice job. All right, Katie. Where's the independent clause? We're still on 3. So we found 2 dependent clauses. To make this a sentence, we still need an independent clause. What is it? Zebra notice. That was a hard one, right? What's your subject? Zebra. And your verb? And what kind of verb is it? Action. Very nice. Now, how descriptive would that be if you were reading paragraphs or books and all it said were sentences like Zebra noticed, he went, his hand hurt. Okay? These clauses are there to help you add more description. Good. Whoops. All right. The last one, number 4. When it was Zebra's turn, he told a story about a bird that one day crashed against a window pane. Jillian. No. So we have 2 dependent clauses. When is your subordinating conjunction? When it was Zebra's turn. Now, let's think. What's your subject? It was Zebra's turn. If it said just zebra, I would say that could be the subject, but it doesn't say zebra. What does it say? It was his turn, so that's a possessive. That can't be your subject. It is your subject. Very good. Was is a linking verb. Very good. It's a noun. It's got a modifier before it. Zebra's turn. Good job. All right, there's another dependent clause. Taylor. He told a story about a bird that one day crashed against a window pane. Good. That one day crashed against a window pane. All right, anything you can get rid of? Okay. Now I'm going to tell you have a tricky one. Can you just tell me where the verb is? Crashed. What kind of verb is it? Action verb. Go ahead and label it, and then I'll do the rest. All right, everybody look up here. When we think about this sentence, that one day crashed, we got rid of the prepositional phrase. What's really left to be our subject here? Day. Now, did the day crashed? That doesn't make sense. That's not the subject. What crashed? The bird crashed. But if we look in this sentence, bird is way back here. It's a prepositional phrase in our independent clause. So what is happening is that you have your subordinating conjunction. It's referring back to that bird. That bird. That crashed against a window pane. So your signal word there, your subordinating conjunction, actually takes the place of your subject. It becomes the subject in that clause. And then these are adverbs because they tell when did it crash? One day. So you're labeling that as your subject. And then Jennifer's going to come up here and do our independent clause, and I already started it for you. I got rid of your prepositional phrase. He told what? Very good. Direct object. All right, so what do you think? What do you think about dependent clauses?